Welcome back to the Tidurium Hangar. This is Mike, and for those of you who've been watching me for a while, you know that when it comes to collecting Transformers, my heart is in the Masterpiece line. The Masterpiece, the bigger the better, the third parties, and all of that. Today I want to talk about all modern day lines that are available, that people are collecting. I'm going to give you my takes, the good and bad of each line, kind of real quick, and guess what? There's good and bad in the Masterpiece, in the third party, in all of it. So I'm going to break that all down. I've done a couple of rant videos, so I'll kind of touch on that as I go. And I want to say that, in my rant videos, the major points that I made on all of those, I still feel the same way. They are still issues. But guess what? I'm not going to backpedal them, but I am going to talk about it. So let's get right into this. The first thing I want to talk about is Cyberverse. So I'm going to start from the lower end of the collecting spectrum and go to the higher end of the collecting spectrum. And I want to say that I've avoided Cyberverse like the plague. But I'm going to give the good and the bad on all of this. So I'm going to start with the good, though. One good thing that Cyberverse does is it brings in new collectors. And it actually has media behind it. There's a cartoon going on. There's supposed to be some sort of a season 1 marathon or something. And it's not a bad cartoon, and it's not the greatest cartoon. It's not something I'd want to watch the whole season of myself. But the good thing is it brings in new collectors. And this hobby that we love so much, that we really enjoy, and that we spend a lot of money and time and effort on, it would be nice to have the next generation, i.e. our kids, interested in it too. And Cyberverse is a way to do that. Looking at it also, another good thing about the Cyberverse is they're pretty easy to transform. And for the little kids, they have trouble back in like the Dark of the Moon era, where those were complicated and did not tab together well. Those were terrible when it came to little kids trying to transform those. And that's when, I think shortly after that, they started coming out with one-step changers and flippers and stuff. But these are simple to transform. And I know I got my first Cyberverse, and I just reviewed it, and it was the Alpha Trion, and it's because Alpha Trion's underrepresented, and I know my son's gonna love that. The bad in it, you know what, they look okay, but they don't look good. There's really no attraction to adults, the collectors wanting them, but that's okay. We don't all have to want everything that's made Transformers. That's fine. There are going to be a couple that I want, like the oversized Legends version of Gnaw, the Sharkticon. And the other thing about it, the articulation's usually pretty poor in these. The one I got was real poor. Some of them look like they have good articulation. It's just hit and miss based on which one you get. So yeah, that's the Cyberverse line, the good and the bad. But let's move into the next one, the Authentics. Now, I don't know if you guys even know what Authentics are, because most of my viewers are in the Masterpiece, or at least in the Siege and stuff. So I really want to talk about the Authentics line. And I actually reviewed one just for fun, because I kind of like Grimlocks. But what they are is what you go to Dollar General or Family Dollar to buy. And the thing is that they're not tied to any continuity. They're not tied to any media. So what they do is they make characters, figures, and they just keep putting them out every single year, the exact same ones. They just put them out in different sizes, different price points. Their price point is based on the size. But since there's no more engineering involved, because it's already been engineered once, then they don't have to charge more. The good thing about it is, just like Cyberverse, it brings in new collectors at a low price point. And it's also real easy to transform, just like Cyberverse. The bad point about it is, though, people might look at this and go, Transformers suck these days, if this is all they see. And the other thing is, there's very little appeal to actual collectors in this line. Now, I did pick up this Grimlock. I think Grimlock was okay. I mean, it was not horrible. If you talk about waffling, those legs were actually just completely hollow on the back. Half of it, I guess, but it's crazy. But it was okay. I mean, there's a couple of things that they did that was cool. Super easy transformation, and something kids would definitely love to have. So yeah, if you're in the Dollar General, there's your Authentics line. Next up, I want to talk about the good and the bad of the Studio series. And so I want to say opinion and separate that from fact. My opinion is, I don't like the look of the movie series, so the Bayverse stuff. Now, I do have a friend, and I'm going to film his collection pretty soon, hopefully, but he's repainted all of his Bayverse stuff to look with colors, and they just look good. And I really want to videotape that. And he did such a good job, made me want to pick up a few, but I didn't, because, then I'd have to have him paint them and all that stuff to make them look like he did. But truthfully, I'm not into it. But the Studio Series now comes along and makes those figures look good versus the way they looked back in '07 and all those other subsequent movies. And I want to say that I think they're doing really good work. Hasbro's doing great work with this. Hasbro is stepping up to the plate when it comes to the Studio Series. And I know I personally have, I've got a few. I got the Blackout because, well, I just thought it looked pretty cool. I thought the helicopter mode looked really good. And it was one of the first ones that we saw. The first Transformers we saw in the movie series. So it was pretty cool. But if Hasbro can keep going this direction, guess what? When we get to talking about Siege, then I got some good stuff to say about it. Now, the bad points about it to me, it's right along. The prices are going up, and that's like an across the board thing. The prices are going up, and some of the characters I'm never gonna like. Personally, I'm never gonna like them. And so, if you're not truly into Bayverse, then it's still a waste. But then again, there's a large amount of people that those movies brought into the collecting spectrum. Just like I said, Cyberverse brings people in. This brought people in, and anything that really broadens our community is good for all of us. And I don't know sales numbers, but I know that the Last Night movie, those toys were selling at like 70 to 90% off in Walmarts and I guess Targets too. So I don't know if Studio Series is selling better. I just really can't tell. I think they're doing better work. Next up, I want to talk about the Siege line. Now, the goods of Siege. I'm going to say that they look good. They look like they're close to the G1 representation, which is, for me personally, is what I've always wanted to see in a Transformer line. We went back to our roots, and we're getting pretty G1. And then the other thing is we're getting characters we've never gotten, where we have not gotten updated versions of. So that's good too. I mean, I love that kind of stuff. We're getting some Cybertronian stuff that's really cool. And they're getting rid of the waffling to a point, making them a little bit more stout. But at the end, they're still making them smaller. They're making these, they cost more. The price is up on these things. And they've gotten rid of a couple of sizes. Leader class doesn't really exist anymore, and I don't like that because they do charge you leader class, but when they charge you leader class, they give you a Voyager figure. Shockwave. And yes, the Ultra Magnus is bigger than Shockwave, but he's not back to what I have come to know, or we have come to know, as a leader class. So that, coupled with the price issue, and the sizes are all across the board a little smaller. Now, in a lot of cases, we're talking a half of an inch or a fourth of an inch, and in some cases a whole inch. But the reality of it is as a whole line smaller. But there's about the same amount of plastic in it. So, would you rather have it waffled in bigger figures or condensed down and just looking a whole lot better? So, another point on Siege I want to discuss is the convergence of Siege and Masterpiece. So we saw that with Jetfire, and since it is Takara, of course, having their hand in this, there is a possibility down the road that we can see Siege converge with the Masterpiece line. Now we've seen a touch of this with this Optimus Prime and how it took cues from MP10 and how it looks vastly superior in some ways to what they were putting out, but still left a lot to be desired. I think the next step would be getting a figure that looks Masterpiece. Not quite. I wouldn't really say we're going to see yesterday's MP44 in 2019 as 2025's Siege line, but that could be something in that direction. Hopefully not that complicated. Lastly, about Siege, I just want to point out that it would be a complete and total utter waste of time to do the Siege line and not give us a Cybertronian Bumblebee. What do you guys think about that? Lastly, they stopped making Legends scale. They have the little 2-packs of the Micromasters. And so that's a good transition into actual Legends figures. Now, this is unofficial toy lines. There's multiple companies making this, but the Legends Masterpiece line, or the third parties, are actually pretty cool. The pluses to them is you can fit a whole lot of them on a shelf. They make your city bots look good. They are super G1. They look pretty good themselves. Like, for the most part, they're like Masterpiece figures shrunk down. And I say that, but in the end, they're still not. You couldn't KO oversize these and represent a Masterpiece on a shelf. There would have to be some modifications made. But in some cases, you could KO oversize them, make a few simple modifications, and we could have another Masterpiece representation. Of course, you'd have to add paint and all that good stuff too, but that's how good these have become. And they're fun to flip back and forth. Now, I did my rant on these. They do cost a lot for what they are. For being little 3 or 4 inch figures costing $30, and in some cases $50. I'm talking to you, Optimus Prime, Magic Square. They do cost a bit more per figure, or I guess per ounce of plastic, or whatever. So you end up spending $1,000 to fill out a shelf on these, but you get a lot more bang for that, and you can have a lot more on there. The other thing that really bothers me about these is trying to get a complete shelf right now that scales well together. And actually, I've even seen in a couple of cases the same company not scaling together very well. But each company has their own slight different size scale to make them all look good. I just kind of fake it till I make it and move on. But it is a bit of a frustration at first trying to know what am I going to order, and when it comes in, will it look good on the shelf? Will they compare okay? So the next thing I want to talk about is actual official Masterpiece. Now, Masterpiece itself is, well, it's doing pretty good right now. Like, we're pretty lucky to get 3 figures in a year. We're not lucky to pay for them, though. Oh gosh, the price increase really sucks. But if you think about it, 2017 was the last time we got a G1 figure. You could count repaints and all this stuff. I don't count repaints and throwing out the same mold. These are new molds this year. Prime, Bumblebee, and version 2. And then we're getting Hound. Now, I want to say that it's been a long time since we've got 3 in a year. And Hound may even hit in January. And so it's really kind of a tough call. It's like, oh, is this going to be a 19 or a 20 figure? But the reality of it is that we've got 3 coming this year. I don't think we'll get 3 next year. This stuff takes a long time to design and develop and stuff. But why? What's the gap? I mean, did they just not put anything? Did Kara make nothing at all from the time they put out the MP39 till they put out MP44? No, what they did is they put out Beast Wars and Movie Masterpiece. So I'm kind of compartmentalizing this a bit, but I want to say the goods, these things look amazing. All of them look great. They have a couple of minor flaws, but overall, they look good. Takara is active in G1. And, it makes me excited that it's what's going on right now. It's exciting. And it's actually going to push the third parties a bit. The downside, the price increase, is really just the main one. The price increase and the price increase. That's crazy. But aside from that, like, this is, I'm going to be honest, it's going to spawn the KOs of these, and then they're going to be cheap. The KOs will be cheap here in a year or two. So, I said it. There, I said it. So, the Masterpiece Beast Wars line, this is something that I see as interesting. I don't see everybody that collects G1 Masterpiece and third party buying Beast Wars. And here's why. They're different markets. Not everybody that collects G1 collects Beast Wars. In fact, a lot of people that collect G1 and are really deep into G1 hate Beast Wars. Because I kind of did myself. I enjoyed the show. I didn't like the toys. I wasn't collecting the toys. I really wanted transforming cars and stuff. But I also want to say that these Masterpiece make me want to buy them, but still don't care about the old toys. Which I start to understand the people who collect the G1 stuff that don't collect the actual G1 but collect Masterpiece G1. So it's starting to make sense to me right there. The other thing, though, and the positive here is that whole next generation, because Beast Wars did bring in a whole generation of people and collectors, just like every major Transformer franchise has. And with that, we're giving them something that they want, and they're staying in it. They're staying in the game and wanting to collect and have fun with it. And the truth is, I'm buying these, and I'm gonna be reviewing these. And yes, I am. I've kind of thought about it a few times, whether I want to or not, and I'm kind of doing it. I'm not buying every one of them though, because I really have no tie to the Japanese continuity. So, yeah, I have no need to be buying this Leo Convoy or anything like that. The big downside is that it's taking away. It has to be taken away from a slot that they can make a Mirage, or they could be making. Why doesn't Takara give us a punch counter punch? And it's almost like Beast Wars was the step up in the price. I don't know how to explain it. The smaller figures, the Bumblebee, not Bumblebee, the Cheetor, the wannabe Bumblebee, and the Optimus, and those were, you know, under the 100, right around that price, $75, $100. But then you get into $250 for Dinobot, and then $330 or whatever that crazy price was for Megatron, was like really stepping us into what's this MP44 price increase. So I quickly want to touch on the movie Masterpiece. Now the thing is that, like I stated, I'm not a huge fan of the designs of Bayverse, but I did buy a handful of the ones that I liked, such as this. I guess this is an Ironhide, because that's not what I think Ironhide should look like. So anyway, we won't get into that debate today. Maybe that's another debate for another day. But I want to say that they're giving us better representations than what we had before. The plus to that is that they're just like the Studio Series stuff. This is coming out and putting out a Masterpiece representation, which is interesting because I never liked the toys from the movies. Like the whole line, I didn't care for it. But seeing the Masterpiece looks good. Still not tempting enough for me to buy them, but it looks pretty good. And I have to be honest, I don't even know where they stand price-wise, but it seems like they're still relatively well priced, if I'm not mistaken. And the downside is that they, in my opinion, they're taken away from what could be a G1 character. But this is a huge, massive world of collecting in the Transformers world, and everybody deserves their fair share. So I'm not going to mark or cry too much about that. And I know a lot of collectors that are very happy about this line. And I personally know collectors that are happy about this line. And I actually am excited to film that collection. So now I want to talk about the third-party realm. And I want to say that, well, these are the unlicensed third parties. And the thing about them is that they fill the gaps. They've been filling the gaps for a while. They've been doing a real good job with that. And I am really, it's the most exciting thing. It's what keeps us going. It's what we're looking forward to the most. I know a lot of people looking forward to Hound, but I know a lot more people that are looking forward to what's going on with the Combiners and what's going on with the Fans Toys Jabber, or what's going on with X-Transbot's Springer, and all of those things. And that makes for an exciting time to collect. And this is the best time to be collecting Transformers, in my opinion. And it's because we have the history in the past, and we have a lot of exciting things that are coming in the short term, and then past that we don't really know what's coming. But I have to say that as excited as I am about this, let's get the good points out of the way, and then I'll tell you my concerns. So the good points are, hey, they're keeping the price in check. The price of third party used to be ridiculously expensive compared to Masterpiece. Masterpiece is going wild, Takara is, and third parties are staying pretty good because of competition. But how long is that competition going to be around? That's another question. We also have them pushing the boundaries of the sculpt and the look and the expectations that we're going to get from these figures, and the paint and paint apps and all of the stuff that they're doing. All the companies are getting better. I'm just putting out better figures. In some cases, we're getting replacement figures. In other cases, we're getting some new figures. But the majority of what we're getting are replacement characters. Figures we already have on our shelves, and we're getting replacements. So that's sort of one of the downsides. It's exciting because some of them they look better. There's no competition in the world. But here's my biggest concern is that I'm seeing more reissues. So reissues in themselves are not a bad thing. Companies like KFC is putting out, well, I'm going to be reviewing these guys soon, but they're putting the reflector out. And I want to say that I'm kind of excited to get it because I don't have it yet. But I would rather see them put out something new. And here we are with, they've got some stuff on the dockets, but then again, this is the scary part. The new stuff they're working on, I probably won't pick up. And that's the sad part, because we're getting into that area where not everybody's going to want to be collecting this. And we all know that. But we keep seeing old figures get reissued from a lot of companies, and some companies just completely losing interest in the G1 Transformers altogether, like Bagcube, it seems. And they were doing, I don't even know if they're going to do many more reissues. They're doing their bugs, but with that, where's the new figures and the new characters? Where's all the new stuff coming? It seems like Fans Toys is putting out all the new stuff. And I love Fans Toys products, but I really want someone else to give them some competition. And really, I don't want them to make the same figures they're making. I want new figures, new characters, some stuff we haven't seen yet. Like this Autobot Frank. Now there's allegedly 2 coming, one from X-Transbots, one from this Blue Lobster, as I think what it's called. And we'll see how well that sells. We'll see how well that's received. Do we really want these off-the-wall characters? So do we really want characters like Autobot Spike from Blue Lobster, or X-Transbots version of the Autobot Spike? Do we want the Punch Counter Punch? Do we want a true Alpha Trion? If we did, we speak with our wallets. And I gotta say, my friends at Shozy still show they have some of these Autobot Skids, X-Transbot Savant in stock. And I just don't see people rushing out to get this figure. And I have it, but I just don't see that some of these more obscure ones are going to sell very fast. And neither does third party. I really hope that we can spread out and get a few more obscure characters, but it's looking like it's harder and harder. Takara, if Takara did it, they would sell no matter what, just because it's Takara and the official. If Fans Toys did it, it would sell no matter what, just because it's Fans Toys. X-Transbots is doing it, and I think it was a moderate success with this one. But my biggest fear with third party is they're too busy reissuing old stuff and not putting the time and effort and money into new figures and characters. And there's got to be a reason why. So anyway, folks, the couple of concepts I've shared my opinions and views and all that in here. And I want to hear what you guys have to say and what do you think. Let me know what lines you guys collect. Let me know what you don't collect. What do you think about each line? Like, subscribe, Cyberverse out.